It was like 15 feet, just 15 feet away from us. It's like it was observing us. I had the opportunity to run to get my drone. I got my phone, I plugged the controller, maybe 15 to 30 seconds at maximum. It was in the air, and I started filming this phenomena. The phenomenon was here, my drone was here, and I was turning around for many angles, and my screen was completely black. The phenomena reduced the resolution. It was 4K, but the phenomena reduced it to 720, and no sound. And it's like the phenomena, was a simple interference. It's like the phenomena messed with the reality, with the sensor, with the construction of the sensor. It was a light. The light comes. The girl was completely paralyzed. And after the light was gone, they saw 2 to 3 holes in the skin, and parts of the skin was removed like a biopsy. She started to behave similar to people that have what the church calls demonic possession. The commander of Operation Southside, Colonel Holanda, he had close contacts in Colares. After the operation ended, he started to have poltergeist effects in this house, in this car. After that, he started to manifest abductions of grays. He had an implant in his arm. He never removed it. And after that, he started to become mentally unstable and start to have depression. It's happening in the dream state, and the consequences are happening physically, this burn, this marks, this implant, and this happened with the Holanda. And I think the end game, as you asked, is maybe the soul. Maybe they cannot come and take our lives, but maybe they can convince us to take our lives for them, like a sacrifice for ourselves. And it's scary to think about that, but I think maybe if they can convince us to do that, doing these games, maybe when we die, our consciousness is chained with them, because maybe they need more soldiers to affect more people. So it's a scary approach, but it's something that I think today is part of the phenomenon.
Hello, welcome to Emergent. My name is Reed Summers. Pleasure to be with you. Tonight, we'll be exploring what we can learn about UAP activities and intentions through direct observations on the ground in remote and rural areas of the world, specifically in the Amazonian region of South America. How are UAP active in these rural and remote locations where our observing capabilities are so very limited? How are these anomalous craft interacting with people on the ground? And how does this interaction correlate to historic instances of close approaches and potentially aggressive engagements that have taken place in history? And then last, are there new patterns or trends that we can observe in the present that may give us indications as to the potential motive and intentions of the phenomenon? With me here tonight is Rony Vernet. Ronnie is an electronics and computer engineer. He is also founder and lead investigator at UAP Brazil, where his work focuses on the study of unidentified anomalous phenomena. His investigations stretch from scientific and technical analysis to fieldwork, including explorations of UFO and orb phenomena in the Amazon and among indigenous communities. Through his YouTube channel, he shares investigative videos, long-form commentary, and documentary-style explorations of this mysterious phenomena. Ronnie, welcome to Emergent. Great to have you.
Thank you for having me, Reed. I think we have a great conversation. I was anxious to schedule this meeting. Fortunately, this time arrived, so thank you for having me.
Yes, great to see you. And we got to meet briefly at the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies conference in Huntsville a few months ago. And I took an interest. Well, I already knew about your work at that point, but I took a renewed interest to see what it is you were uncovering on the ground in your field experiments and observations in Brazil and elsewhere. And I encourage everyone watching to go watch the interview between Ross Coulthart and Rony Vernet on News Nation Reality Check, in which Ross and Ronnie go over in depth all of what, Ronnie, you discovered during your time in Brazil in 2024. and with the Yawanawa tribe, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So I encourage everyone to go there, watch that. It's got all the details on that. In today's show, we're going to talk about, what's being observed since that time, and what excites you as to field observations that might be possible to uncover some of the enigmas of the phenomenon. I would also love to talk about some historic examples of close approach UAP encounters on the ground, some of which were in Brazil in the case of the Colares incident. And then, Ronnie, you and I can chat about what we see in this phenomenon. What is its potential motive, intention for engaging people? Are there changes in the trends of how it's engaging with people that might give us some signs as to what its overall intent is? So with that, thanks for being here again, and just tell us how you're doing and what you're working on since your interview on News Nation.
Yeah, I'm good. As always, doing a lot of things at the same time. So sorry about if sometimes I could not answer you instantly because my life is kind of crazy. I'm finished my research in physics right now, and also traveling a lot in many states of Brazil to chase the phenomena. And also I have my 8-hour-a-day regular job, so everything at the same time. So it's complicated, but I'm trying to do my best. So this expedition to the indigenous tribe that we expelled correctly, Yawanawa tribe, it was profoundly, deeply changed my worldview about the society, because not because of phenomena, but because of staying in an isolated place with these indigenous people, 12 hours from the civilization by boat, 8 hours by car. So this changed how I see the reality, how they live there, changed me profoundly. And also, logically, the phenomena that I witnessed there, the close contact that we had with the phenomena there, me and the indigenous people there, mainly the boys that was every day with me, because if you remember from the interview with Ross Coulter, the indigenous chief put available for me two boys that were very smart and very interested to help me, very interested about the phenomena, to know more about that. They are depicted in my documentary that I did about that. And me and then we three could experience close contact with the phenomena. One of them was paralyzed by an orb at that time.
I hope you can recap that for viewers as well, because I think that's an important example of direct interaction. And I also just want to highlight that your documentary is out as of a few months ago on YouTube. So if you want to see what it looks like on the ground in these places, folks, you can watch Ronnie's documentary on his YouTube channel.
Yeah, just to give some context about the main experiences there, we have some close contact with orbs, orange to red orbs, and also to what I describe as luminous clouds or luminous fog. Okay. In the first days, we witnessed some light poltergeist phenomena, like sounds in the middle of the forest, strange sounds like furniture being scratched against the wood ground, which doesn't make sense because it was in the middle of the forest, just the earth and the trees and so on, the forest. And some strange sounds of like animals, very, very ferocious animals, not in distance in the forest, but close to our ears. So this was the strange thing that happened there. This in the first days. And I never did that before.
Ronnie, did you capture one of these creatures on camera? I believe I watched a video of one of these objects being caught on camera, and you recapping how there's nothing like that. No animal lives or resides in the forest in that area.
Yes. The first day was just sound. It was our first day of the observations there. I arrived on the afternoon, and that night I was with the boys in the middle of the forest. I did not set up in the first day any equipment because I didn't have time. So just a plenty raw observation, and these sounds happened. And at that moment, I never witnessed that before, these sounds, and I said, okay, this is different. And I interpreted that. I don't know if it's that happened, but my interpretation was, maybe there is some phenomena here that's trying to scare me, and I was really scared about it because I had experience in the past luminous phenomena, beings, but not this kind of poltergeist-like phenomena. So I was really scared, and I thought maybe this is a message, maybe this is something I'm coming from outside, so maybe something that trying to scare me to do not want to do this research. And I said to the boys, "Oh, this is normal here," and they said, "No, this is not normal. We have another village where they have the cemetery." Or you have to be aware, there are 10 villages, 9 or 10 villages of these people, one close to each other, and one of them is the village of the most elder Indigenous, the chief of the chiefs of the Indigenous. And right there in this village, that was not the village that I was, they have a cemetery there, an Indigenous cemetery. And for them, it's common to see the spirits. Not when they consume ayahuasca or do rituals. In the normal days, at night they see spirits in the cemetery. But in that village, we don't have any cemetery there. They are not aware of any phenomena, spiritual phenomena, something like that. So this poltergeist sound was something new for them. And I said to boys,
are in the far north of Brazil, correct? They're up on the border with Peru.
Yes, border of Peru. Okay. Yeah,
and roughly about an 8 hour. I think you said a 5 hour drive and an 8 hour boat ride, something like that.
8 hour by drive and 12 hours by boat. So
okay, very remote.
And from Rio is also 5 hours by plane, so maybe 24 hours of travel to go there. And I said to the boys, okay, I'm an outsider. Let me be respectful to this phenomena, wherever it is. And I said, okay, I'm here just to observe. I'm not here to make anything bad for you. And the phenomena simply disappeared. I didn't heard anything like that. That was sounds like a menace or a threat for me in the other days. I saw different phenomena from this day. Okay, so this was my first experience, very profound. And in the second day, just distant lights, orange lights in the forest, not lights on the sky very far, but close in a moderate distance, right on top of the trees. The lights phenomena was close every day, close to the forest. Okay,
right. And in a low out. You say you were advised to turn around because there was a light behind you, and it was only several meters away, hovering several meters above the ground. Yes. So quite close, quite shocking.
Yes.
Yeah. How was that? I'm curious. What was the experience like witnessing something that close to you?
Yeah. In the next days, the phenomena could get closer. Same altitude, right above the trees, but closer and closer. And as we installed more cameras, as we installed more sensors during the next days, the phenomena start to manifest more. Like it was like responding about what we are doing there. Okay, so when we are installing the last cameras in the last few days, I spent 10 days there. There was a family with us. And the family said, okay, there is a light right behind you. And when you look to this light, it was like 15 feet away from us, very close. It was maybe 2 meters, 3 meters orb. It was just a static orb, 1 to 2 meters from the ground. And was it's like it was observing us. And we was completely frozen by this close interaction. The boys was completely stunned to see that in this close distance. And when we pointed there, oh my God, when we did the reaction, finally did the reaction of this frozen status that we was, the light immediately responded and flew away, but stayed close, but like 100 feet away, okay? Mm-hmm. And close to the trees. I had the opportunity to run to get my drone. I had a resolution drone.
Best ever drone launch sequence.
It's like a F1 pit stop. So it was very fast. Sure. I got my phone, I plugged the controller, and I put this in maybe 15 to 30 seconds at maximum. It was in the air, and I started filming this phenomena. The phenomenon was here, my drone was here, and I was turning around for many angles, and my screen was completely black. Completely black, nothing was appearing there. And it's a 8-minute footage. In my documentary, I have some minutes of this, and I don't see anything. The phenomena reduced the resolution. It was 4K, but the phenomena reduced it to 720 resolution, and no sound. This is something that happened, and it's like the phenomena. It not was a simple interference. It's like the phenomena messed with the reality, with the sensor, with the construction of the sensor. It was not something like electronic interference by electromagnetic radiation that we see, because everything I was controlling very well the drones. I was filming it. Nothing was disturbed. Only the image that was produced was completely messed by this phenomenon.
Just the end product. The one thing that you would need to walk away with to have conclusive, you could say, proof of an anomaly. And like, this is only but one of a number of electromagnetic effects and instances of what you could call, I guess, psychic anticipation by the phenomenon, where either one of you or one of the people with you anticipated, or you know, in one case, the small boy used a set of binoculars to observe the phenomenon, and he froze. He was paralyzed in place. And these are all often repeated and recounted in close approach scenarios with UAP.
Yeah, and there was, before I talk about this electromagnetic interference, there was one thing that was very strange to this drone footage. The only thing that we can see in this video is when the drone take off, and when it take off, we can see something passing, what I describe like a white shape figure. It's like a two-leg horse is the best way I can describe it. It was a two legs of a horse running, and it runs and it forms a blob or an orb or something like that and disappears. And this phenomena run away exactly to the point where this light was flying. So I don't know. My interpretation.
Just to recap. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
My interpretation was if this was something, some kind of entity or being or something like that, that was hurry up to get closer to the phenomena to maybe cause this interference or this kind of messed reality. It's my interpretation about what happened, because it was running, it formed an orb, and it goes exactly to the direction where this red orb was. So it's like, oh my God, I need to do something to this boy, cannot film it in close distance. It was something like that for me, my interpretation. Okay.
And that was at the moment when the small boy tried to observe it with binoculars, that you saw this kind of two-legged phenomena go into the sky?
Yeah, we saw only on the video after we filmed that. We could not see in the visible spectrum. Maybe it was in infrared or something like that. Okay. It was the only thing that appeared on the footage. And after that, the phenomenon stayed there for 8 minutes. We could see it with visible eyes, but we are not seeing the camera. All the directions, I rotate around it. The boys looked at it with the binoculars, no problem. And after that, the phenomena just go away and enter in the forest. The phenomena always entered in and out, and go in and out of the forest. Okay.
Yeah.
And when I started to talk with the chief, what's the direction where these lights are coming? Oh, they're in that direction. I cannot say certainly 100% that it was there, but in that direction we have the Samauma, which is the sacred tree for them, that for indigenous people is a spiritual portal from the beings from the forest. They don't believe in beings from the stars, but they believe in beings from the forest. And after that, we saw this in the same day, many phenomena start to appear. There was one opportunity where I could see 10 or more shapes of different phenomena in the sky. I had orbs, I had small discs colored in green. I had
you were able to capture these on multiple sensor platforms that you have in this quite elaborate setup that you created there on site.
Yes.
Is that correct?
In this day,
So this is more than just eyewitness observation. This is actual UAP detection, tracking, and sensing in this remote rural area where we would otherwise have none.
Yes. The interesting thing is that I had the cameras installed. I could get zoom onto this phenomena. I could film it, but my sensors was not already deployed and tested. So I did in the next day. So from this day that we had this multiple phenomena in the sky, I had only the cameras to film it. It's one of the footage that appear in the documentary. And I had to choose the phenomena that was the bigger one, that was more luminous to capture in detail. That was that big orange orb that pulsates and disappears and pulsates. After the footage, I could see that was composed by two spheres, that one of them was exploding, another was blinking and causing all these effects of this orange pulsating orb. And the same day, after that phenomena, we had this luminous fog coming in our direction. In the footage, it's just a simply luminous fog. But what I saw, it was like, think about a drone show. We have a drone show of many drones forming a shape of a hand. What I saw was a shape of a hand pointing to the forest. But the indigenous boy that was beside me saw something different. The boy saw something that was a closed hand, just like punching, not this way, but this way, punching the forest. So, and in the footage, just a simple luminous fog. So for me, the phenomena projected in our minds different shapes. This is the best
visual interpretation.
That I can.
As you recounted, it was pointing in the direction of where the orbs, I believe, tend to appear and return to. And is that is the same location as the sacred tree to the Yawanawa tribe? Is that correct?
Yes, I never thought about the way, but now give me insight. It was like different messages to different observers. So for the boy, it was this aggressive hand. I don't know the meaning of that. For me, it was the hand pointing, maybe, okay, I'm coming from here. You're right. I'm coming from here in the forest. A confirmation or deception, I don't know, but this is how I interpret that. And try to,
or consciousness-based connection that's established during these close approach observations, certainly in close encounters as well. So that there would be some kind of visual effect as communication, I think, is pretty plausible.
Yeah. And at the same time of this cloud and these phenomena in the sky that came before that, we had radio frequency interference. We had our smartphones being completely messed, the screen. We could not use that, just frozen screen. We have the lights that was blinking, all types of interference together with this phenomenon. One of them, the radio, we could see on the footage of the documentary. And the boy tried to see this luminous fog, this hand, with the binocular. And before he could put in the eyes, he was completely frozen by that. And he was frozen 2 minutes, 1 or 2 minutes frozen, just paralyzed. And screaming for me, Ronnie, I'm paralyzed, I could not move anything. What he felt it was he was a balloon, his body. It was inflating. This is curious because this is one of the feelings that people that claim to have out-of-body experience, they have this kind of balloon type of feeling. And both the indigenous chief that tried to shoot and was paralyzed felt this way, this balloon feeling. And
the chief as well was paralyzed?
Yes, it was before I arrived there. The chief paralyzed, it was the incident that convinced me to do the travel. When the chief says, I was trying to shoot and I was paralyzed. And the boy and the chief felt the same feeling of being paralyzed and this balloon sensation in the body. They could not move anything until the phenomena disappeared. So when this luminous fog entered in the forest, the boy recovered all his movements. And the night was very crazy. The boy is very traumatized, and until these days, he avoids to spend the nights alone in the dark in the forest. And the boy was totally not afraid of anything. The painters or the animals there or any kind of animal.
Ronnie,
After
I want
this
to clarify
day,
one thing from the interview with Ross. You shared that the tribe was used to seeing spirits or seeing effects around this sacred tree, this sacred site, but that they were not used to seeing potentially the orbs or some aspect of what could be described as a craft. Is that true?
what they say for me, when they are not in the ayahuasca is the combination of plants they use to do this communication with spirits, to do this ritual. When they are not in the effect of ayahuasca, they only saw the spirits in the cemetery in this village that I commented before. Okay. It's not normal for them to see orbs or beings different from these spirits, human spirits, without ayahuasca. When they use ayahuasca, is the way for them to connect in the world, to go to the world of these beings from the forest. But for them, it's not normal for these beings to come to our world, to materialize here. So they were very, very afraid about that because they don't know the intentions.
And this is part of what brought you out there.
Yeah, but
so then just to recap then, so we have these observed aerial phenomena that you've captured on infrared, and I think you had a cosmic ray sensing platform, something like that. So all these different ways of observing outside the visual spectrum, these confirmed aerial events. You had these direct encounters with these yellow, orange, pulsating, 1 to 2 meter in size, roughly was your estimate, orbs, in some cases coming within meters of you and several others. And then you have this luminous cloud phenomenon, this bizarrity in the atmosphere, seemingly it might have been physically there or not, might have been a message or a manipulation of some kind. I'm curious, have you heard of or yourself observed any of these phenomena elsewhere in that region, in South America, or in other remote areas?
Yes, 10 years before that, we have attacks. And the curious thing is that we had attacks against girls, indigenous girls. The phenomena had a preference to attack girls from 13 to 18 years. Exactly the same.
These light beam attacks that took place around 2014 and then again in 2016.
Yeah.
Let's go
2014
into,
to 20.
Tell us about what those were. What happened there?
Yeah, it was orbs or objects with lights, both, that descended in the village when they were alone or in pairs. The phenomena didn't like to approach when many people was together there. So, and when it descends, the target is girls from 13 to 18 years. Many of them was affected there. The federal police was there, but it could not do anything, just collect testimonies, collect video of the phenomena. And they use it to shoot with shotguns against this, because when they did that, the phenomena just flew away. So they
actually shoot a shotgun at a UFO.
Yes, not in close distance, but when, oh my God, the phenomena is coming, you start to shoot and the phenomena avoids them and go away. So it was effective. It's like
one of these individuals was actually attacked, it seemed, by some kind of beam and was injured by it.
This girl was affected in a light way. It was unbalanced. It was a redness in the face. It was fatigue. It was like they say it was. I was drunk, very drunk, because, and they know about that because they do their alcoholic drinks made with potatoes and other kind of stuff that they collect there. So they know
exactly
drunk
the
people
phenomenon
feel.
doing. Yeah, what is the phenomenon actually doing to a young girl? Is it a beam of
Just
light?
shooting a light beam
Okay.
against them, and they start to feel this dizziness and all these physiological effects that in 1 week it went away. All these physiological effects went away in 1 week. They recover. But there was a case in other village in 2016 where the phenomenon descended. It turned off affected all the flashlights they were holding there. And this man started to shoot against this light, and the light sent the light beam against him that was more aggressive because he was completely in coma. He was put in a unit to recover, unconscious for many weeks. And it's like, okay, you're shooting me, so I will attack you against. I'll do an attack
Witnesses
against
to that? Were there other witnesses to that event?
Yes, there were like 10 men with him because they were chasing animals for subsistence, to feed them. So they were at night just chasing animals, and this light descends. They were very, very feared about these flashlights being affected, and the reaction was shoot against it. When I was there in the village, I could learn what happened with him. He wake up from this unconscious state, he doesn't remember anything, and he just go away from the hospital and go back to the tribe, and he doesn't remember until this day. He doesn't remember what happened with him.
Wow, that's notable. Okay, interesting. Almost sounds like a near Travis Walton of Brazil.
Yeah.
Not taken, of course, but severely affected by it. And are you hearing about this since then? Since 2014 and 16, are there similar type events occurring either in Brazil or Peru or elsewhere?
In Peru, not in Brazil. It's not common for indigenous in Brazil, in the border of Peru, to have this happening, but they have conversation with his indigenous people from Peru that say to them, there is a phenomenon here that attacks people, that abducts people. This was the motivation to the Peruvian Air Force to create the OIFA. OIFA is the body to investigate this phenomenon there in Peru that Captain Julio Chamorro, my friend, created there. And it was very serious in Peru. In 2000, from 2010, they have exponential increase in the phenomena. As I said, people abducted, people attacked, but it's something new for us in Brazil, in the part of Brazil. It was like the phenomenon was migrating to the Brazil.
Or possibly, going to different locations where it could function, without as much human observation or human intervention. In the Peruvian
most
cases,
curious.
Yeah, do you have a sense
thing,
of the distribution of these encounters or abductions, the rate, and is the government involved in actually collecting data on them?
The Brazilian government, no. It's a very,
the
very...
Peruvian government, just in the case of Peru.
Oh, the Peru was conducting a very, very good investigation there. They didn't release the data about these encounters, but I know they was there in the Amazon jungle. They collected testimonies. They had a close encounter. There was a night when the soldiers from the Peruvian Air Force had a close contact with anomalous phenomena vehicle that was there. And they started to shoot against that. They called the Captain Chamorro and said, "Oh my God, we are having this thing here. We are shooting against it. What we do?" And they said, "Oh, just stop shooting. Just stop shooting. We don't know what can happen." So, and this is what happened at that time. So, but the curious thing for me from all these encounters is the interest of this phenomena to young girls. Because this happened in Operation Saucer in Brazil in 1977, that Brazilian Air Force did this operation in Colares. And the main target was young girls. And again, in Brazil, the young girls were targeted. And not many people say that, but there one very, very famous case in Brazil. The ufologists avoid that because the ufologists have this kind of belief in extraterrestrials. So when something like poltergeist, when furry creatures or something like more paranormal appears together with the UFO phenomenon that do not enters could not be explained by extraterrestrial or something like that, they completely avoid that. But there was a case that is not talked, that was very covered by journalists there. One of the girls, 13 years girls, was affected by a light, and the doctor, Avelade Cecin, that was who was the doctor that was there at the time, supporting all these victims of the light. She did exams, and these exams say that the girl lost liters, not a sample of blood, but liters of blood, a gallon of blood. So, and after that, the family say that
was that through an incision? Was that through an incision that was caused by one of these beams, or how did she bleed out?
It was a light. The light comes, and when the light, the girl was completely paralyzed, and after the light was gone, they saw 2 to 3 holes in the skin, and part of the skin was removed like a biopsy. So, and a smell of ether or ammonia in this scar made by this phenomena. It was like the skin was burned, the skin was removed, the skin had holes, and the skin was with this strong smell of ammonia in the skin. Okay, and they think that through these holes, the phenomena could suck the blood. This is why they call it the sucker, or the vampires from the Amazon. Well, the most famous book is called Intergalactic Vampires of the Amazon. That's crazy, but it was attested in the exams, in the doctor exams of this victim. And what's bizarre, completely bizarre with this girl, this kind of fake blood happened with many people there. Most affected girls, also men, but and most of the victims were girls. But this girl, what happened? That it for her is that's curious, is that she started to behave like people, similar to people that have what the church calls demonic possession. She was with super strong force, 3 men to try to hold a very skinny 13 years girl. She was completely aggressive, and the only way to the family could recover this girl was with Catholic chants, with Catholic prayers, and after that the girl was recovered from this kind of.
Okay. Was there a sudden onset of those psychological symptoms, or did that come on more slowly, possibly even after the bleeding out event?
Right after she was affected, she goes to the hospital. The medical doctors release her. When he arrives at home, she starts to feel this way with this kind of symptoms. And this is crazy because we start to see that what other cases in Brazil, not in Operation Saucer, but other cases in Brazil that people is affected with the phenomena and also have these strange altered consciousness states that people that religious could say demonic possession or something like that. The poltergeist started to happen in the house of these people. So that was a common
experience? Was that a common experience during the Colares period in the 70s, late 70s?
Not common during the Colares. This specific case of what's common in Colares? These marks, these burns, this blood sucked. This is common in Colares, but not this kind of
not the
demonic possession, like the psychological effects. Yes. Other thing we had in Colares, many people, animal mutilations we had there at that time. Animals completely with the blood completely sucked. We also had people that disappeared, and we also had people that had permanent sequela. People that was completely, it's like their consciousness, their soul was taken away, and the people is just in the automatic mode. They could not talk with anymore with any people. they behave like a child that could not talk and something like that. I could visit one of these victims. So this was more common there in the Colares. But after that, in other cases, I started to study more, interview people. In other cases, not in Colares, but other cases in Brazil, we had also this poltergeist. People feel this sulfur smell in the house. People start to have sleep paralysis. The sleep paralysis evolves to abduction scenarios.
Tell me how that happens. Where do abductions come into the picture?
People are reporting me. There is a pattern here. What changes? What changes is the appearance, the shape of the beings, and shape of the craft. Sometimes it's not a craft. Sometimes it's like phantoms or ghosts that appear to people. Sometimes are beings. Sometimes are human beings. Sometimes are hybrid beings, animals to humans. Sometimes it's just light. What changes is that the appearance of this, the characteristics, the morphological characteristics of these entities. But what is common is that people that have traumas, severe psychological traumas, people that asks for contact, I need this contact, people that do black magic rituals, military that had severe episodes of fights in the Brazil or outside in combats. These kind of people have it's open a door to the phenomena to manifest. And when phenomena start to manifest, people report to have sleep paralysis, and they start to feel more affected psychologically. After that, they say that this evolves to abduction scenario experiences. That, as I said, the beings appear in many forms when they sleep. They say that's more, what's different of a dream is that is more real than this reality. And they used to wake up with marks, with scars in the skin, sometimes burns, sometimes 3 points is very common in the triangular form. I got cases that people were marked inside the mouth, in the tongue, with these 3-point marks. Sometimes cuts made. We have implants. I have some photos of implants that Dr. Arthur Gatti sent to me that I can explain. And this is the behavior, the patterns that I'm starting to note here in Brazil. And
you are seeing
sometimes
some of these same patterns arise in the present, in the post-2014 timeframe?
Yes. And more and more people are approaching me to say that. I don't believe all cases are negative, but when people have negative, they ask for help. So maybe my statistic is biased because of that. Because when people have a cure or people have good experience, most of them hold this experience for themselves. They don't start to talk and screaming to everyone they had it. So this may be one of the reasons that 99% of the cases I receive are negative. So this is a part of them starting to see.
Right. Might be a bit different over here in the West, where people with negative experiences feel generally very reluctant to speak out, very unencouraged to do so, even in the UFO community. And those with positive experiences report them quite eagerly. So, but I would imagine in a village setting, a tight-knit community, where there's a little bit more acceptance of other forms of non-human intelligence, right? Spirits, strange creatures in the forest, that people might be more willing to talk about problems that they're having, attacks that are taking place. I'm curious, are you aware during the Colares period and in the years since, in similar events, did anyone go missing who was never recovered?
Sorry, Reed, can you repeat?
Did anyone
I was
go
thinking
missing?
about.
Oh yeah, you're fine. During Colares, did anyone go missing who was not later found? Like, in the United States, we have the Missing 411 Project, David Paulides.
Yeah.
Is there a similar phenomenon in Brazil or South America? And also, are there organizations tackling that?
Yeah, many people missing, and we have a journalist here that covers these cases. He was there, Carlos Mendes, the name of the journalist. He was there in 1777. He faced the military retaliation because military didn't want he to cover it. It was in the middle of the military regime in Brazil. A very courageous person, and he's right now getting some information to write a new book about this phenomena. He has one book about Colares, but he will release another book just covering these animal mutilations and missing people that we had at that time. Collecting the cases, the journals, the everything from that time. So he will release it soon. So yes, we had these cases here.
Yeah, good to know. Is there new movement on Colares with either within Brazil or with anyone you're in touch with on the U.S. side? Is there any interest in the U.S. government to reach out and form some kind of exploratory partnership with the Brazilian government to examine the historic documents of Colares and whether those patterns are being repeated in the present?
We don't know any movement about that. What we know is that during the Robert Bigelow Alsop time, they researched Colares a lot. Colares is present in Capella database that Jacques Vallée helped to build. And this is what we know. But nowadays, we don't have any information about any collaboration with Brazil. We don't have any trace that could give us a hint about that, about this kind of collaboration.
Yeah. Is there anything about Colares that's not commonly known that you could share? Any further information coming out of Brazil or people you're in touch with? Further insight into what took place and what followed in Operation Front?
We know that there were many foreign people here. We think that these foreign people, not just from US, but outside, like French and people from United Kingdom here during the Colares, what makes no sense because Colares at that time was like an indigenous village. There was nothing there. And all this, curiously, all these foreign people started to move there to buy lands. And we think
after the incidents, after the UAP incidents,
during the incidents,
during all of that period. Okay, because I know it went on for several years.
Yes, there was a foreign agent that she was French. The passport said French, but honestly, she had many passports. We don't know the exact nationality. She bought an entire land close to Colares. An entire land was bought by her. She bought many pounds of fishes every day. So it was impossible for her alone to consume all of that. And until these days, there are people investigating this girl, this woman, many people had contact with her. So there was many agents here, probably researching Colares. They knew what was happening here. Brazil was probably sending information, not today, but at that time there was a collaboration. And we suspect that all the videos, we have many hours of videos of close contact with the military with these ships, 9 types of vehicles there, that we suspect that are in the hands of US military, but we don't have anything to prove that. It's just a hypothesis, very good hypothesis, because when we asked for the military, everything was gone. They destroyed it. I don't think they destroyed it. I think they just passed it to other country, maybe US, just to move away with the thing, because they knew that people in the years that was coming, that they will ask about it.
Yeah. Strange to hear about the presence of foreigners suddenly arriving, or foreign agents. It makes you wonder, was somebody trying to set up a Brazilian version of Skinwalker Ranch to observe the phenomenon, or was there some kind of collaboration to observe some kind of non-human interaction that was occurring, planned to occur, that had been arranged to occur? Do you have a sense of what the human element was in that, and where was this truly an anomaly or a non-human entity that was interacting, or was it a collaboration of that and a human actor? What should we take home from what was behind Colares? What was motivating that kind of activity?
There were people like the Dr. Velad Cecin that saw beings, strange beings. That she described the beings as almost human, with a different skin, like olive skin, like a completely different kind of brown with green, brilliant, very brilliant skin inside the craft. They saw always a pair of people, always two people inside the craft, one that appeared more male and one that appeared more female, and a very strange hair, like it's not blonde, it's like blonde, similar to blonde, but a color completely different from us. So they describe that these beings were similar to humans, but with different features of skin and hair, and eyes also different. And maybe together with this phenomena, maybe an inhuman phenomena, we had U.S. military with some aircraft there, and sometimes people see it and think this is a phenomena, but it's not. Something like we are seeing in New Jersey, for example, maybe the phenomena together with the governmental craft. I think that happened in the U.S. and maybe the Soviet Union was researching also there together with U.S. So submarines.
An altercation taking place, an altercation in the air between different types of craft, or did the phenomenon seem pretty unified in its approach to citizens?
No, people didn't report that in any. I don't remember any situation of that. What people saw, it was what they call it. They had photos about it. It's what they call the mothership. It was a big orb, orange orb, with small orbs right on top of it, and they saw these small orbs come in different directions, and they group it together again. Yeah. Very similar, very, very similar to this. I don't know if it's the same, obviously, but very similar to this video that was released by the U.S. military from the Eric Burleson congressional hearing, when you have these three small fragments and one bigger one that people sometimes say, some people say it's balloon. I don't believe it's a balloon, but maybe it's something like that. Don't know.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. Are you aware of other incidents similar to Colares that have taken place elsewhere in the world, outside South America even?
Like Colares, only in Peru. In these 2000 cases, it's most similar that I could remember. Yeah, year 2000.
Okay, in the year 2000s. Okay, yeah. I mean, it's often said that Colares was potentially a one-off incident, doesn't reflect the nature of the phenomenon, and it's hard to know, right? We don't have observing capabilities in remote places, which is why I appreciate your work to not only get on the ground and talk to people, but also bring the sensor equipment in and actually record data on the ground and in the field. I know there was one incident in, it was either Sardinia or Sicily, one of the Mediterranean islands, that was very similar to Colares. And then, of course, there is this long-running chain of incidents that are colloquially called human mutilations because they're so similar to animal mutilations. And, the incident that you recalled of this laser beam hitting the skin of this young girl, 13-ish, and almost taking a biopsy or excising tissue seems kind of eerily similar to some of those animal mutilations, as well as other cases, some of which are out of Brazil. I think the Guarapinga reservoir case, an incident of an individual being discovered deceased, but with these anomalous excisions of tissue, these laser-like puncture wounds, certain organs removed, no animal predation could ever explain.
And in this case, the clothes was completely intact, and his body was completely burned. So this was very, very bizarre. It's like maybe a radiation, something like that.
Yeah. And in some other cases, the body is not burned. It's almost in perfect condition, and there's just these laser incisions. So it just makes me wonder if there's a connection between what was seen in Colares, what was seen in 2014 and 16, and some of what you're now hearing in the present as people step forward.
When I was, people asking me, what do you think happened in Colares? Why they are this? If it's no human, why they were doing that? And the captain of the operation, Irangê Holanda, that revealed the operation for the first time in 1997, and he committed suicide. And we could comment on that also, why he committed suicide. he suspected that the phenomena was doing some kind of, oh, these are very, very advanced civilization doing some kind of genetic research on humans. Nowadays, I started believing that when years ago, but nowadays I don't believe that, because we forget why phenomena started targeting young girls, and why the phenomena need to take, advanced civilization need to take many liters or gallon of blood to do a genetic exam. Doesn't make sense. Nowadays, for me, the phenomena was literally feeding with the blood of these young girls. This is what it's bizarre, but this is my main hypothesis nowadays.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've looked into the cattle mutilation reality to some degree, and my father became close friends with John Alschuler, one of the first PhD hematologists to study the phenomenon, and he actually investigated the Snippy the horse incident, which was one of the first publicized animal mutilations in the U.S. And interestingly, a bovine, an adult bovine animal, has many more gallons of blood than a human. And if the extraction of blood was the desired goal, then all of these cattle all over the country are basically walking blood sacks ready to be extracted from. And this topic of resource extraction, we think of resources as petroleum and minerals and things like, but we don't imagine that biology itself might be a resource. And do you think that's at play in terms of the human interactions? If it's not scientific, if it's not a procedure to analyze, if it's more of an extraction, what is it extracting and what for?
And we have, complementing what you were talking about, we have cases in Argentina and Uruguay. Argentina and Uruguay, Brazil is not a very huge hotspot for cattle mutilation, but Argentina and Uruguay are huge hotspots in South America. And we had cases in the 70s, for example, where we have cases in Argentina where this phenomena, there was a pregnant cow. The phenomena removed the pregnant cow from the body of this cow with this perfect incisions, and feed from the blood from this little cattle that was removed from this mother cow. So why feed from why remove this fetus? Why to feed from the blood from it? It's not make sense. It's something like more ritualistic, something more like nefarious than advanced civilization doing some kind of research. Right. So what I believe also is that maybe they are, if the Congress people are right, if Grush is right, if these are interdimensional beings, what I believe is that what we see in the material world has a completely different meaning in their world. For example, for us it's just blood. For them is life. For them is life energy. Maybe every materialistic thing in our world has a different meaning and profound meaning in their world, and vice versa. So it's a hypothetical. But
even if they were, and I believe Grush has not only just said that they could be interdimensional, but also extraterrestrial. And in that case, even then, the estimation of the value of things could be just dramatically different than how we see it, right? The collection of specimens may not be for study, but as some kind of collection of biological substrates that can be used to grow food, or that can be used to propagate life on other worlds. Like, we have no idea of the exosystemic value of Earth-based resources and the valuation of those. And I think we're at a disadvantage there. I'm curious, have reproductive anomalies been reported among people talking to you about these encounters in more recent times?
Yes,
unplanned pregnancies, terminated pregnancies, that kind of thing.
And there are
because
a lot
as you,
of people.
sorry, but as you brought up that it's the ages 13 to 16 or 13 to 18. I mean, everyone must have thought, well, okay, that might be a young woman in puberty. There might be something happening with early ovulation or something to that degree that would want to be observed or extracted.
Yes, I don't exclude that hypothesis, mainly because, as you said, there are other explanations, but also people in the 70s and 60s in Brazil report abductions where they have these phantom pregnancies. The people do exams, and 3 months after that is completely disappeared. Anything in exams anymore. People report to get in a ship and see if this kind of fetus or kind of babies, hybrid babies, it produced. In the American Congress, we also heard listened to something about that, like maybe hybrids. So maybe there are different phenomena with different agendas doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah, interesting. I'm actually, full disclosure, chatting with a Brazilian UFO researcher right at this moment, because he had mentioned to me that there was a place in Brazil, a small town, where people had claimed that they were hybrids. And I don't know if any of these places ring a bell: Sao Tome das Letras, Minas Gerais, or Florianopolis. I'm sure there's different things happening in all these different places. But are there any kind of hotspots of claims of either abductions, reproductive interventions, or non-human entities walking among us?
You mentioned São Tomé das Letras. That is one of the places located in Minas Gerais state, very close to Varginha. We have a triangle: Varginha, São Tomé das Letras, and Luminares. It's 3 cities that is a big hotspot in Brazil. Even before Varginha incident. And the curious thing is that São Tomé das Letras, this city close to Varginha, is a hotspot for hippies. In the 60s, they started to migrate from many cities in Brazil to São Tomé das Letras. And together with this phenomenon of the hippies coming, we had they reporting the phenomena. And we know that this hip movement was very used to LSD, to psychedelic experiences and something like that. And people also report me when they do ayahuasca experience, when they do mushrooms, when they do LSD, they also and sometimes open a door to the phenomena start to manifest. So my hypothesis that maybe the phenomena started to appear there because many people started to use LSD, this RIP movement. It started to open this door, maybe this collective consciousness of many people going more with this mentality. Maybe this opening the door for the phenomena. Maybe one of the explanations, one of the things that could explain why we have this phenomena happening there and growing together with the hippie movement.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting, there are these reportedly New Age places in the United States where people flock to practice, alternative spirituality and engage alternative lifestyles and so forth. And yet there are also hotspots for UAP, UFO activity and reported engagements with non-human intelligence. And you wonder if there is a connection there. Is there some passive attempt to socially engineer the landscape of society and distribute it and redistribute where certain types reside? Certain people who might have psychic or psionic abilities, put them in one place. People who are more traditionally religious, keep them in another, engage them differently. And when you talk about Argentina, a hotspot for cattle mutilations, and Brazil not, it's interesting. Is the phenomenon selectively doing different things in different places, in part to cover its tracks, to make it harder for any one principality to understand the whole, as they just focus on one aspect? Why would you want to reveal the whole playbook all at once in all places when you can have different aspects of the playbook take place in different places? So yeah, it's interesting to see. I'm not sure if there's a New Age movement at hand in Brazil and if the UFO phenomenon maps on top of it. But yeah, are you seeing hotspots in terms of towns, cities, regions that might correlate to certain kind of communities within Brazil, indigenous communities, or those who have a certain political leaning, etc.?
Yes, in this place near Varginha, São Tomé das Letras, with this hip movement, they also brought the New Age movement together. So It's all connected.
Okay.
And they started to use psychedelics. And there are many religions there. There are many witches there. There are many rituals being doing there. So it's a hotspot, not only for the phenomena, but all these ritualistic, these occult practices, and these new age religions and practices. And this is what happening there. I think it's connected.
Interesting. Well, Ronnie, in our final moments together, which may they be long moments, I would love to talk about your perspective just on the phenomenon as a researcher, from all of your time in the field, everything you've read, and especially though what you've observed in South America, because I think there's a very interesting kind of subset of the available data happening there. It's unveiling really in front of your eyes. You know, what do you see the phenomenon fundamentally? What are your best hypotheses regarding the intentions of the phenomenon? What is it doing on the ground with individual human beings, and why?
We have the phenomena very connected to the nature. We have many phenomena coming from the waters, like we see in US, you see also in Brazil, from the rivers, from the ocean, the phenomena coming from the forest, the phenomena coming from the mountains. And sometimes it's more technological, sometimes it's just orbs that split, they come together, sometimes it's beings, sometimes hybrid beings with the smell of sulfur and ammonia. There's a multitude of phenomena happening. Maybe they have different explanations, or maybe they are something like an AI just materializing, just printing, all this kind of stuff, maybe to confuse us, maybe to deceive us. And different factions.
Say more about AI in that sense. Yeah, what would be your sense about the potential connection to AI?
Maybe one incorporeals, not corporeals, intelligence, not corporeals, one consciousness that inhabit the body, that inhabits another reality, another dimension maybe, and it's playing with us and his power to materialize anything here. It's like a chat GPT, but materializing what in the power of the thought. I'm thinking about it and instantaneously materialize here. And this is interesting because sometimes people enter the craft, enter the ship, and they saw some errors, like there are ropes, rustic ropes or chains in a very technological vehicle. Some strange buttons, more primitive than our buttons. It's like, for me, it's materializing this consciousness. This AI is materializing something here with some kind of errors, like when we do ChatGPT, create image with people with 6 fingers. So sometimes, like, there are some
this intelligent
hints.
Engine is generating either a physical craft or just a sensory experience, a visual cortex activation. But there are some errors in what it produces for the observer, potentially.
Yeah, and I think these are some hints that we need to pay attention. That could be a hint that the phenomenon is not something very advanced, but something indigenous to Earth, some indigenous AI or something like that.
And in terms of these close approaches, Colares, 2014, 2016, and even as recently as 2024, up in the north of Brazil, where you were most recently, what do you think the phenomenon is doing in these close approaches, where people are paralyzed, there's electromagnetic interference, there are these beams of light or these laser injuries? What is that?
I don't exclude any possibility, extraterrestrial hypothesis and others, but for me, what's most probable is that the phenomena is literally something above our chain of food, is above us, is literally feeding of us. This is something, I don't believe everything is negative. Also, I believe there is positive cases, but when people approach me, they say, "Oh, I never say this to anyone, but Ronnie, I don't want to appear. I don't want you to reveal my name. I'm just to be relieved to talk with someone, and I choose you to talk this." And I had this experience. Sometimes a political figure, sometimes a Jew, sometimes is a scientist, and they have these experiences and they report negative experiences. But I don't believe everything is negative. Maybe just the people that are asking for help or for relief are talking about that. Maybe have a multitude of phenomena, positive and negative, and maybe even this AI or something like that could be positive or negative based on what we are asking for it, what we are feeling. Maybe if we are very bad, they appear bad. Maybe if we are very positive, it appear positive. Maybe it's something that's taking place.
Right. Well, it does seem intelligent and adaptive, evasive, but also, I know in your work you've used the word control to describe that it seems to be in control. It's not. It wants to observe and not be observed. In some cases in the field. Do you think this is some kind of overall surveillance going on, or scientific examination of the species, or is this some kind of longer term program which has some kind of end? And what are your thoughts? And they could be speculations as well. We don't fully know. We can only speculate on these frontiers of the conversation. But what is the potential end game at play, especially with the hard physical aspects of the phenomenon? Not to say those are different or distinct from entirely the psychological or the consciousness-based ones, but there are these strong indications of craft entities, on the ground encounters. Where do you see this going potentially? What are the scenarios that seem most plausible to you?
I'll get the example of the commander of Operation Saucer, Captain. He died as Colonel, in fact, Colonel Rony Vernet. He had close contacts in Colares. After the operation ended, he started to have poltergeist effects in this house, in this car. After that, he started to manifest abductions of grays. He had an implant in his arm. He never removed it. And after that, he started to becoming mentally unstable and start to have depression. He had problems, personal problems, but this amplified, I think, after these contacts. And I think maybe, this is my hypothesis, because I'm seeing with other people, these beings are playing games with his mind, with this like virtual reality, because for me, some abductions is like some virtual reality game in our nightmares, in our dreams. And they're playing with the mind of him, and they amplified all the personal, private problems that he had. Why they're doing that?
The abduction didn't actually physically happen? Are you saying the abduction was not physically an occurrence, but rather a psychological manufactured experience? For me, the less energetic way to do this abduction is when we dream, when we sleep. When our consciousness goes out of body experience, or they can get our consciousness. But once they capture it, we can wake up and see materializations of implants. So what happens there in the stars have a consequence here in Earth. So it's not. So this phenomenon for me has a part that is metaphysical or antiphysical or non-physical, but has physical consequences. And this for me happened. I talked with Dr. Gilda Moura, that's biggest specialist. She was with John Mack in Virginia, in MIT, researching abductions with David Sprinkle and others. Gilda Moura said for me last week that the abduction experience changed from physical to non-physical in the last years. The same intelligence or different intelligence with different approaches, but what I'm getting from people is that it's happening in the dream state, and the consequences are happening physically. This burn, this marks, this implant, and this happened with the Ronnie. He said that, and I think the end game, as you asked, is maybe the soul. Maybe they cannot come and take our lives, but maybe they can convince us to take our lives for them, like a sacrifice for ourselves. And it's scary to think about that, but I think maybe if they can convince us to do that, doing these games, maybe when we die, our consciousness is chained with them, because maybe they need more soldiers to affect more people.
So it's a scary approach, but it's something that I think today is part of the phenomenon.
Yeah, well, whatever it ends up being, I mean, we offer a tremendous indigenous population and localized set of resources with which to use to create whatever is sought to be created, whether it's a technological reality or whether it's something more soul level or engagement level. But, you know, we are vulnerable down here on the ground, and we offer up much to those above. And so this is why these efforts to go out into the field and analyze the phenomenon as it's happening, I think, is so important. And, you know, I would be curious over time if more remote sensing groups, startups, academic consortia can come together to go out into rural places globally. And I'm thinking of like sub-Saharan Africa, Darfur, also conflict zones where there's a lot of human conflict and a lot of harm being caused that could be used to mask or cover similar Colares-like activity that we would otherwise never be able to detect. We would just write it off as, you know, the outcomes of war. So, you know, this is again focusing on those specific spatial, circumstantial, and temporal scenarios that we need to be physically at to gather data in the moment. And, you know, just staring up at the sky from, you know, X university on the East Coast with one optical instrument, in my view, is not really the way. We have to get into the field where the phenomenon is unfolding and where the highest consequence activity and potential harm is being caused, and go figure out what that is. Take that to decision makers, they might be forced to act. You know, if people start saying, I was physically removed from my home and here's the sensor data to prove that my body actually moved, and there was an electromagnetic anomaly in the house and the power went off in the neighborhood, you start to stack those on top of each other, and that's a signal that responsible authorities have to respond to. So I look forward to more of that field investigation, and also internationally. And I love, you know, that you bring this perspective from outside the U.S., because the disclosure conversation is so U.S. centric, it seems, and other parts of the world almost seem dark or unlistened to. And so I'm curious, actually, in Brazil, you know, how are the recent events of disclosure, the hearings in Congress, you know, all of this regarded? Is it a popular topic of conversation? Is it still fringe?
Yeah, talking about this just yesterday. Yesterday we had a hearing in Brazil, a public hearing in Brazil about UFOs, just yesterday. But unfortunately, there were only ufologists invited. Me and other people don't want to see any ufologists there. We don't want to see the military. We don't want to see the authorities like we are seeing in the U.S. Because the hearing yesterday was like, and I was there in the one event in the Senate in 2022. It was like that. I was there to help. I did what people asked me to do because I wanted to help, but I didn't want to repeat that because it didn't change anything. Because in the end of the day, you're doing just a congressional UFO congressional hearing. It's like a UFO Congress in the Senate or in the House. So what we need in Brazil is what we have US with military coming. Maybe you can call the military, they don't reveal anything, but if they only repeat what is public, repeat that Operation Saucer is real, repeat that people were attacked, they documented it, repeat that UFO night in 1986 when they chased it with jet flight was real, just the public information, the phenomenon is real, is a big move in Brazil because many people don't remember, many people didn't read anything about UFOs. They don't have this information, what happened in the past. So when our authority comes and the public speaks about that, and they don't need to review anything new, any documentation new. They just need to say what happened in the past, and this will convince a lot of people to move to another step. And this another step, okay, let's review new things. Let's review new documents. So this is what I was talking yesterday. This is because many people criticized this hearing yesterday, and what we need is just that. It's simple.
Are you hearing
again? We don't need any information.
Are you hearing anything out of the Brazilian government or the military in the last year or two on the topic?
No, completely silenced. We are completely politically unstable country with left versus right. And now US is interfering in Brazil because Brazil is doing some things. And this is an environment where we just cannot have the conversation going further because people are busy doing other things. When you start to talk about UFOs, people say, why talk about UFOs? And also we want to highlight, unfortunately, we need to highlight this case where people was attacked. Indigenous people attacked. We have the documentation from federal police. Colares, we have documentation from Air Force. We need to talk because if you say, just give me the document. Why? I don't want to give a document. Why? People need to know that civilization is being attacked by phenomena that we don't know what it is. It's a foreign country. It's a non-human phenomena. No matter what it is, but it's attacking people. It's harming people. And I think to focus on that is the way we'll move to the next level together with these authorities, just repeating what happened in the past.
Right. Yeah, I fully agree. I think if there is a hostile actor with a hostile intent, and if that's been demonstrated on the ground through bulk testimonial evidence, but also through increasing corroborative evidence, sensor data, then that is something for society to focus on. That's a rallying call. That's a platform for a united human response, potentially. And of course, that doesn't say the whole phenomenon is only that, or that's all that is happening. But if that is happening, that demands our attention first and foremost. Top of the agenda. What would you imagine could trigger authorities to take more action on that key revelation that people are being attacked by the phenomenon? What is it that would be needed to generate an official response that itself could generate a whole wave of acknowledgement, public awareness, etc.?
I think the politics, we need to press politics to invite the commanders of the military just to acknowledge it's real. This will be the first step. Just that. Okay. And after that, many people, the journalists, the people from Brazil will start to scream, oh my God, it's real. I want to know more. I want to know more. This will press them to release new information. So I think we need to do in two steps. It's real. It's like US did in 2020, 2017 with the New York Times, etc., with the Pentagon information releasing that's real. Existence. It's real. The scientists use real. We have Air Force commander, senior general saying it's real. The scientists will press no more. The people, normal people, civilians will press. The journalists and pressing. Next step we say, okay, releasing new information. Let's talk about it.
Great, Ronnie. Great to have you on the show and great to have this conversation. What's next for you? Where are you headed next in your research?
I'm going a lot to Virginia. Every month I'm in Virginia. The firearms of Virginia is very angry with me because I'm obtaining very good documents and pressing them. And I find a lot of failures in the time of Virginia. And they are very angry because I've just found the weak spots of them. So, and I will expose them.
What is that?
Documentation that they simply they corrected the documentation, clearly corrected to erase data.
Oh, I see.
And
so they
have the proof.
The documents.
Manipulated completely. I had the proof of that. And they are very angry because I discovered that, and they have no way to write it anymore. And I asking for more other documents that will highlight what happened really. They basically discard a lot of documents. To discard documents, they had to change numbers. They had to correct all the numbers, and they have everything with me right now. It will be revealed in January next year, and I'm going a lot to Virginia. To not this is I'm doing the distance we're using the Freedom of Information Act in Brazil, but I'm doing there to talk with the people that was there at that time, that people never interviewed, people that was linked to the property and the forest where the beings were captured. There are a lot of information that I'm getting that is linked to black magic rituals. I cannot prove that because it's very complicated, but we have many people saying, 5 to 10 people, different people saying they did a lot of black magic here. I visited the house of the owners, very rich people in Virginia that owns almost all the lands there. Very rich people doing some European and African mixed black magic, and people say for me, they say to me, they swear for me that they come from the ground. They are doing these rituals, and the beings start to come from the ground. And I talked with Polish people that said, no, the Virginia beings was just one. There were a lot of the creatures.
Beings similar to the one reported in the Virginia crash incident are that those very entities are coming from the ground in these kind of black magic seance rituals.
Yeah, they did. I visited the place of the rituals. People don't have any courage to remove that. They are very afraid to touch it. It's there. They do the rituals. What I cannot prove is, obviously, these rituals opened a portal to these creatures come from the ground. I cannot prove that. But what's proven is these black magic rituals is very, very present in Virginia with very rich people doing there exactly in the land of the creatures were captured. So very big coincidence.
Yeah, I mean it's strange. I'm hearing increasing stories of groups doing these seance rituals, invoking spirits, and having encounters with entities that are the same as reported in the UFO phenomenon, gray entities, grays. And so, is this some sort of psychological portal that's being willingly opened for these entities to come in, or simply to project psychic power and influence the thinking and behavior of key people, the wealthy, the powerful, the influential, the key individuals in the technology sector? I mean, I've heard some stories of even those individuals attending these seances. So that's quite strange. Well, I thank you for being out there on the front lines. And Virginia Ground Zero, I did want to ask one last question about the Brazilian government, where you feel it leans. And on the topic of Virginia, I believe it was the air traffic controller who, kind of at the end of James Fox's documentary, said, and the plane went back to the U.S. They loaded the contents onto the plane, C-130 or something, and it went north. Is it your sense that the Brazilian government marches to the behest of the U.S.?
Yes, completely compromised. And as you said, you have proof, not the evidence, but the testimony from the military that authorized the U.S. plane, the military from the Air Force that authorized the plane to come from here. It was not scheduled. It was not authorized. The commander pressed him to authorize it to arrive. It went to close to, not Virginia, but close to Virginia. And many helicopters started to come from Virginia to the city of the U.S. plane was. So they were loading something in the time of Virginia. So the evidence is starting to come. Maybe we can get some documents from U.S. talking about Virginia, and this would press the Brazilian military to review that. It would be fantastic to have something like that.
What would that look like? Would that be an edict from the executive branch of the U.S. government? What would the U.S. government do to kind of commandeer and activate the Brazilian government?
I think if they review any documents of any information from Virginia, for example, it would be a very, very important element for us citizens to press the military to know, oh, the U.S. is saying that you gave something for them, something anomalous. Right. We need to know more. So this would be something to trigger some movements here.
Good. Great, Ronnie. Well, thank you once again for all your efforts out there in the field. And I know we'll be in touch again on definitely the UAP detection tracking kind of technology setup that you have there. That's an interest of mine. but also whatever you plan to bring out in January. Would love to have you back on the show, and we can talk through what those documents reveal.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this invitation. I hope people enjoy this conversation, and not enjoy, but be part of this conversation, because I think this conversation is of all of us. If everyone give one piece of information, we could know more about the phenomena. As you said, I love to work with this technological stuff to get evidence, because I think getting evidence, people become more interested. We don't need to wait for the military to have it. We citizens can be organized to get very good evidence. I'm starting Brazil. I did in Atacama this year experiment that will increase in this year and the next year. That is calling some Brazilian mediums, psychics. And in Brazil, have a long history of many people exhibiting psych abilities. And Brazil is a big hotspot for this kind of people. And I'm starting to see some success to have images and information with sensors together with these psychics, like the Skywatchers are doing in US, for example. We can do something in Brazil. I have some success, limited success in the Atacama Desert in Chile, that I think will be a very good laboratory together with Amazon to gather more data. So
perhaps
I think we have a good future.
Replicated, yeah. So I think we need sensors on all sides, psi as well as technological, and a lot of good work to be done there. Well, good, Ronnie. Great to be with you. Thank you all for this conversation, and we will be in touch, I'm sure. And for those watching, I want to thank you for being here, being a part of this conversation. As Ronnie just said, we are all needed. The call for citizen advocates, activists, scientists, investigators is most certainly sounding, and I think more people need to respond. And there's 1,000 things that can be done, and there's only you who can do what you can do. So please do get involved. If you're enjoying Emergent, I encourage you to both subscribe to the show and consider supporting the show on Patreon. I'm also looking to build out Forerunner, the community platform I've developed for those endeavoring on the front lines of this phenomenon, investigating its fundamental reality and also its implications for the human species. If you're not yet on Forerunner, I encourage you to do so. And also consider taking my course on decoding alien intent. Over 320 people have taken it so far. It's up there on Forerunner in 20 modules. And I will be offering the latter modules this fall, probably later in the year, November, December. So do enroll, and you'll get notifications when you can join the live class. So with that, I'll say good night. Thank you for joining me, and keep endeavoring on the front lines of the phenomenon.